We'll call this, I'll call this meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please.
San Luis Falls County Member Tina Rocha. City of Ceres Vice Chair Doug Dunford.
Here.
City of Houston Member Dominique Romo. City of Modesto Chair Joe Lopez.
Here.
City of Newman Member Michael Holland. City of Oakdale Member Jerry Ramar. City of Patterson Member Fernando Ulloa. Mike Willett.
Here.
Sorry. City of Riverbank Member Marisela Garcia. Here. City of Turlock Dr. Sue Borrego. And City of Waterford Mike Pitcock. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any, agenda item number 3, public comments? Are there any public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to 4A, motion to approve the Management Finance Committee minutes from May 7th. Questions or comments on them? No? Anybody in the public? No? I'll entertain a motion. Motion from Newman and a second from Riverbank. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 5A, fiscal year 25-26 unmet transit needs analysis.
Thank you so much. So next slide, please. Oh, no, you're fine with that slide. So this is for the fiscal year 25-26 unmet transit needs analysis. I think many of you have heard this before, so I'll keep it a little bit brief. It is an annual requirement that we have through the Transportation Development Act, and it's one in which we provide the opportunity for our public to participate in a process to tell us if we're missing any transit needs that are reasonable to meet in our community. Next slide, please. So as I just said, we're trying to get people to participate in providing comments to us. So a couple of different ways they can do that. One of which is they can go online, or they could go online and voice their opinion. We're using those little flyers there. There's one in English and one in Spanish. If you were to click on the QR code, it would take you to the survey, and you could go through and give the survey. You could go through social media or online comments, any way of that to give us thoughts. As I said, the public hearing needed to be held, and we did that on March 19th. And right now, there's the report online for the public comment period. Next slide, please. So this slide goes into the definitions of a unmet transit need. I'm just going to give you one quick example of some of the things we hear that is not a unmet transit need that's reasonable to meet. Oftentimes you'll get one person making a request like, I want to go to the Stone Ridge Mall on Saturdays. Well, that's not a good use of public funds, and we're not going to fund that. But you do hear that kind of stuff in this process. And so you get that, and then you get a lot of bus stop amenities and schedules that are already being performed by the bus operators. Next slide. And like I just said, a lot of the requests are already being addressed by our operators. We do receive comments on the amenities of the bus stops, and routine normal planning that they do. The next slide, please. So based on all the overall findings of the STANCOG's UTN process, we did meet with our Social Services Transportation Advisory Committee on Monday, and we determined at that meeting, we went over the comments and determined there were none that were reasonable to meet. Just FYI, in that committee, we have both the CEO, Executive Director of STAN RTA, the MOVE Executive Director, and so we all sit around and talk about if there's anything that's reasonable to meet. And then the final report will be going to the policy board on the 18th. That concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Gene. Are there any questions?
Gene, is it my understanding, I mean, in other counties I've worked at, and 2 years ago, you yourself came down and did a presentation before my city council for unmet transit needs, explained everything to them and got the word out, that way. What happened this year? How come we never had that comment or that time?
So we did it a little bit differently this year. We found that going out to give presentations at each of the jurisdictions wasn't the best use of time, and that getting the word out via social media and other external ways was just get more bang for your money and your staff time. So that's why we sort of pivoted over to that kind of outreach.
So notifying my council is a waste of time?
No, not at all.
You just said that.
No, I
Because
didn't.
I asked why you didn't.
I didn't say it was a waste of time, but
Better use of funds, but then, it's my understanding you put the flyers on buses and stuff for outreach and stuff. So my question would be, if I have unmet transit needs, those are people aren't riding the bus.
right. So
How are they gonna get word if they're not on the
So
bus?
that's a great question. Thank you for answering it or asking it. So part of the outreach that I didn't highlight is we do work with Move, Stanislaus. And so they have individuals that go out on the buses and do what's called travel training. They teach people how to use the bus. And so what we do is every year we work with Move Stanislaus, and they go out and give out these flyers and talk to people that are actually using the bus. So it is going out to folks that are that we know are using the bus. So that's, in my experience in 25 years of doing this, that is probably the best way to get it done in the most resourceful way, because they're already doing this stuff. All they have to do is hand out a flyer now and explain it to you.
That brings up a question. You said that you're going out, talking with the people using the bus and educate them on how to use the bus.
That's what Move does, not
That's what Move does.
Yes.
But the whole purpose of the unmet transit needs to go out and reach the people that don't have the bus and don't have the ability to ride the bus, to try and get buses there, isn't it?
Right, and that's why we use the social media to hopefully reach out to them, to the disadvantaged communities, yes.
Right. And I noticed this is going before the policy board on June 18th.
What's going before them is the analysis report.
Okay.
We've already done our due diligence by having the public hearing. And so now we just need to take the report to the policy board.
So my question would be, the period for 30-day comment doesn't close until 5 o'clock on the 30th.
And we will,
The 18th, June 18th. But then you're taking the policy board an hour later?
yeah, and if there were any comments, we could at that point let the policy board know if there was any additional comments. We would bring that up into our presentation. And honestly, typically there isn't. Again, I've been doing this a while and I've never seen that done. But if there is, we'll go that route.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
If you're going to use social media, what are your metrics for measuring if it's effective or not versus going into council meetings and addressing communities in person?
I would say that the metrics is how many comments we got. And this year we had a total of, sorry, I have it written down. I think it was 30 some odd comments. Anyway, yes, it was about 30 comments that we had. Again, doing this in other communities, sometimes you don't get any, even in large communities. I used to work up in the SACOG region and did this up there, and I think they got, maybe like 45, 50 comments, but of course that's a huge, big old region compared to ours. So, yeah, it's the matrix of how many comments that you're getting. And so I think we did a good job this year to get that many comments.
So what's the baseline then you're using, comparing it against?
Oh, we compare it against what we've done last year.
And which was what? What was your baseline?
I think it was, we did have more last year. It was about more like 50. But what we did get a lot of last year, which was wonderful, was we got a lot of compliments. So we didn't get as many compliments this year, but it's about the same amount of actual comment.
Jean, I think to clarify, the compliments were to the operators of their services, that
Yes.
people didn't have an issue with, like Stan RTA now that is consolidated services. People were pleased with the services, so you heard that a lot, because he did make a lot of changes in the region for the
Yes,
service.
prior
So
to,
that's
yes.
what you heard. And they also did a lot of outreach that tied into this
Mhm.
unmet need. So we tag team with them to get out to the communities, not only to the councils. But Doug, you raised a great question. I mean, StanCog is only required to do a public hearing, that's it. And, public to come. And we found that we weren't getting, I mean, we've been here a long time doing this, comments. I mean, maybe you did get a comment if someone was upset with the service, but we started to do more things. So yes, you get creative to try to go to councils or do, or even have venues, not just go to the council, go to venues that, because we found that people weren't, even if we go to your council, there was no public comments, no one would pay it. And so we thought, okay, we'll go to the venues. But that was feedback we got from the public, that they didn't feel going to the council was something they wanted. So we go to senior services and communities, and no one shows up, maybe 2 people, 3 people. And so now the social media is more powerful. It seems like people pay attention to that. And we're seeing it not just for the Sun Mini, but other projects that we're doing, that people do come to those virtually because they have the ability to do that. But every year you look at it differently and you start assessing it in different ways.
It was just interesting because what Jean says, 2 years ago, when she went out and spoke to the councils and went and did some outreach, they had 50 comments. This year, since they didn't do it, they only have 30 comments. And so there's a reduction of amount of comments
Yeah,
for change.
yeah, and that's gonna be every year. It's gonna fluctuate on how many comments we get. I can't, one of the other things I didn't mention that we do is we, through our TDM, platform, Status Cruise, we send out email blasts. I think we did it 3 or 4 times during the comment period. And that reaches about 3,000 people that are, commuting or, uh, uh, ride sharing, or would be ones that may want to use transit. And so, we're doing the best we can, I think, and using our resources as wisely as we can to reach as many people as we can.
Ms. Rosa mentioned events. Do you ever do farmers markets, chocolate festival, apricot festival? Do you do those events as well?
Yeah, we have done that in the past. A great example of that is, I think it was maybe 2, 3 years ago, we did the Ceres Street Fair, and we tried to give people the unmet transit needs comment cards. And those type of situations just don't work as well because you have to take a minute to explain what this is to people. So you have some people that will really sit there and listen to you, but you have a booth down the road that's making caramel candy or whatever, and the attention is drawn away. So we have tried that in the past as well. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it works on some of our programs, like our TDM program. We've been to, I think, yeah, to the Newman's Farmer Market for that and gave away a bike. Now that works well.
But you're
Because we're
saying
giving stuff away.
you're not doing that because you have to explain it to them. It takes you a minute or 2 to explain it, and they're being drawn away because of caramel apples. But we put it on social media where we don't explain it to them at all, and that's better.
No, I mean, you take them to the social media and you draw them in, they can look at the survey. There's a brief introduction in the survey about what.
Nobody's talking to them. Answering
No,
their
but they
questions.
have the opportunity to talk to a person.
But you've done that too.
Yeah.
Where you've done the social
Yeah,
media.
I mean, again, I've done
Live.
this for so many years, and it is different in every region, I will say, but you have to just go by what you found in the past and try and make it better. Maybe we could do something different next year. I don't know, to get more comment. And sometimes I think part of the reason we got a reduction in comments is, frankly, I think the transit operators are doing a really good job. And that's why you don't see as many comments. Like I said, last year was a bunch of compliments, a lot, more than I've ever seen. And when I say a lot, it was only like 10, 15 comments like that, but that's a lot for a region this size. So that would be my guess on why part of the reason the comments went down.
Any other questions? And I'll go out to the public. Anybody in the public? Bring it back. It needs a motion, right? Any further discussion on this item? All right, we'll move to 5B, fiscal year 25-26 Transportation Development Act apportionments for transit and other purposes, and fiscal year 25-26 allocation for transit.
Thank you. So we already went through a lot of the unmet transit needs rolls into this transit apportionment and allocations. So once we've gone through this unmet need process and we've determined there's no comments that are reasonable to meet, which we've done, we then can allocate funds and apportionments for our transit operators. Next slide. We, in this county, use what's called the transit cost sharing procedures. That is something that is now in statute in the Transportation Development Act law. So we use these steps, as you can see on the slide there, to get us to what is going to be allocated for transit. Next slide. So this slide, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because essentially we just went through what this slide says. The next slide. So an overview of the transit cost sharing process. The step one is on February 21st, the StanCog Policy Board approved the initial local transportation fund and state STA assistance apportionments for FY 25-26. The LTF estimate was 32 million, and the STA was $6.7 million. The determination of LTF needed for transit, the cost sharing committee asked that that this amount be allocated on May 2nd, 2024. Next slide. So then the next step is to determine what's going to be available to transit. So of course, there's always going to be money that comes off the top for planning, in this case, non-motorized vehicles as well, and as you can see in column 6. So you take all these things, you add them up, and if you look at the LTF estimates there, it's the little line of funds there. You can see that on the bottom, we ended up with $25.5 million for transit after we took off everything for the top, which included planning on motorized vehicles. Their regional claims come off the top. The regional claims are capital improvements like the Modesto Transit Center, for instance. And then the CTSA or MOVE comes off the top, and that's by statute as well. Next slide. This slide shows how we get the final allocation for transit. And we use a method of 87 to 13 split based on population. So Stan RTA obviously serves a big population. They get 87%, and Turlock gets 13% of the overall transit or LTF and STA funds. If you look to your far right, you can see what Stan RTA will be getting, which is 28 million, and City of Turlock 3.3 million. Next slide, please. This item will be going to our policy board as well later this month for them to approve the allocations of apportionments for transit. And that concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions?
What's your methodology for calculating the amount of money that's going to planning?
It's prescribed to us. So it's 3% for planning. And it's written out on the, sorry, can you go to schedule back a couple slides? Yeah, to that one. And can you blow up? James, can you blow up? Yes. And go up, please, to that box.
But that's by statute.
Yeah, it's all by statute. Yeah, we have to do it this way, but this is showing you, you can see it a little bit more clearly
And
now.
then that 950 then be part of the budgetary process.
For StanCon.
What's your current I'm sorry, Mike, what's your current LTF reserve?
The current LTF reserve is 27.2 million.
The reserve is 27.2.
Not the reserve. He's talking the reserve that we've been it's about 20 million. I don't know. We would have to get that number. 21 million.
And that's what's being set aside for
But
days.
yeah, the funding that is being, that's what you're referring to? Yeah.
Could you please use your mic?
The 2% LTF for non-motorized, my question is how could we go about increasing that? Because really the dollar amounts there doesn't really make for an effective project.
Again, this is all by statute. I mean, these percentages are by the TDA,
Okay.
Transportation Development Act. So that's,
It would have to come through.
they have to change. It's all the state of California, regional transportation. We all have the same percentage. It's not like some regions get more. Or it's by statute. But in our case here, I mean, now we have Measure L, so your bike and ped gives you way more than this
Oh,
program
absolutely,
would ever
absolutely.
give
But
you.
it's just one of those things where if we had a little bit more, we could start filling a lot more of our sidewalks that are missing. So we can do a little bit with Measure L, but we could do more if we had more here.
Right.
Any other questions? Comments from the public? Bring it back. Any further comments or questions on this item? All right, I believe this was a discussion item as well. Move to 5C, Measure L Funds Received Report Update.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, next slide, please. So just the background, you all know the background pretty much. On May 7th, we had the Management and Finance Committee meeting. And at that meeting, we had a motion from the members for the master funding agreement to address the detailed accounting of the Measure L 1% for outreach and education and annually return any unspent funds to the local agency. On May 21st, we took this to our policy board that directed us to include the provision for a detailed counting of the Measure L 1% for outreach and education and bring back the issue regarding unspent funds to local agencies to the policy board in a future agenda item. Next slide. So this slide shows can you?
That item is on their packet, right? Because we
Right.
can't see the.
Right. So,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
So I printed out some that were larger that we could use.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
And thank you for blowing it up there, James. So, yeah, if you can scooch over to the left a little bit, yeah. So this is using the actuals now. So the actual LTF that we've received is $445 million
No,
for the
1,000. I wish it was.
thousand. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
better get my glasses on. I wish it was, huh? Anyway, I apologize. So this is the actual that we have for the Measure L outreach and education campaign. I should put that in perspective. It's not Measure L in total. So right now we have $445,000. So that's your expenditure, your revenue. And then I know the estimate was 619, but we all know that that's just an estimate. It's not an actual. So you have the actual number of 445,000 year-to-date for Measure L, and then the next row shows all the expenditures thus far. And these are mostly for the Convey Inc. contract. and that's $194,000. So that shows you your expenditures. And then you have your difference at the far right bottom corner. You have your differences of the 251,021. So this report will be in your packets, and it won't be the size that you were seeing in this packet. It'll be blown up beginning in August for review. And that concludes the report.
Well, first of all, we wanted to get your input. I mean, this is Mike, you made a comment that you guys wanted to see how this would go in the packet, because you do see the revenues every month on your packet, but now we have this included in there. Is this something you guys want to see? Because, and the reason she says August, we don't have a July meetings. We're dark in meetings. So starting August, we'll start adding this column to the report.
So I like the revenue and the expenditures, but it'd be nice to have a little bit more detail as to what the expenditures were. So, how much is going to here, how much is going to there, just kind of a quick detail of, let's say for April, we spent $4,462. What did that go to?
Okay.
Yeah, like what works conveyed.
Like a little summary,
Yeah.
put a little
Yeah, or
summary in
just
there.
something that kind of, I guess on a monthly basis, it'd be nice to know that what, for the month of April, this is what it was.
What
And
they
then as on an
spent.
ongoing thing, or any month that we skip, we have to get 2 months worth of
Right.
data, so.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great comment. Thank you.
And Jean, you said mostly goes to convey. What else? What could it be going? to?
There is a small provision for grant writing, a 1% for the grant writing that was written into the master agreement. That money has been expended, so it's part of that 1%. It was $100,000, but most
Grant writing for what?
grant writing.
Our regional projects.
Mhm.
That's funded in the 1% for the public outreach?
No, not for the public outreach. When the policies were changed, we discussed about grant writing and getting opportunities for our big projects. And so, and then the public outreach. So those two items were brought to all of you and the board. But that was for the policies, and that's another thing. So we addressed this item that you all wanted to see in the master funding agreement, but
And we'll put
Policy-
that, we can easily put that in so you can see it. That you're asking for the expenditures. We could say grant writing, convey, so that you can see it a little bit more clearly.
But I think also there was another step to this. And I think the staff report addressed that, but there was another question about the policy and the funding that wasn't expended. You wanted to
Correct.
go back. So that will be addressed at a policy discussion. So we'll bring back to all of you and then report.
Because the policy board, I thought the policy board wanted a recommendation out of this committee on how much of a fund balance was to be left.
Well, right. So we'll bring that item back to all of you and we could talk about all of that. That has to be agendized. So we could bring it back like maybe August or
Yeah.
to start having those conversations. And yeah, that's where you can make those recommendations of what you think go back or leave a fund balance or not.
So the $100,000 for grant writing, that's all been expended for grant writing, $100,000?
Yes.
So what grants did we get?
We applied and we don't have the result yet if
Yeah.
we got in the
Like
grant.
for what?
But it was
grants?
for the competitive statewide local partnership for State Route 132 West.
So for one grant was $100,000?
Yes.
Complicated grant, though. I mean,
Huh? I'm sorry.
It's a very competitive grant
Yeah.
and they are needing a lot of engineering work to be submitted with these grants now. The state has changed how,
Grant writer's not doing the engineering.
no, the grant writer is doing it because they have the ability to do all of that. So you have to hire that level of expertise.
Okay.
And we're hoping that we could hear soon if we will be granted an award.
And then the 251,000 that's left over, where does that go?
It's just sitting.
stays there.
But what,
until we change the policy.
Yeah, and that,
the fund balance on that then,
what do you mean, what's the fund balance? It's
or we,
51.
for this year, but it keeps rolling over, so how much has been rolled over continuously?
Well, you don't, we have, we start with those estimates, but she's got the actual right now. So starting the rollover, it'll be July 1st. But again, it'll be an estimate until you get an actual.
How much did we roll over last year?
This is all we have, because we started, whatever the month she's got on there is what she's been deducting.
But it was added in the work plan for 23, 24.
Right, but we didn't start collecting. So, 9 year.
This is the first time
Spreadsheet.
Measure L has actually been collected?
For
this-
this last year or so.
Yeah, the 1%, I think is what Rosa's saying, is that we didn't start collecting the 1%.
For the public outreach.
Yeah, for the
Until
public
this
outreach,
year?
for the jurisdictions until August.
Okay.
So
So
this is
question,
the actual money.
yeah, so question on the grant writing, is that come out of your 1% Stancog admin fee or?
No, it's this 1%. When the policies were changed, it came through all of you, but it's been a while, I understand. And it came to the board and they concurred that if you want to go get money for the regional projects, we have to have this level of expertise for these grants. These grants have gotten very competitive and we don't have the engineer in-house.
Can you send us that policy? I'm completely blanking.
We'll bring it back to you when you want to make changes to it anyways. We'll bring it back to you and I will show you. where.
Any other questions, comments, or suggestions on the report? Any comments from the public? All right, bring it back. Any further comments or questions? No? All right, that was an informational report as well. We'll move to D, to nominate the management finance chair and vice chair for the upcoming fiscal year. Suggestions, recommendations, thoughts? Don't look at me.
Okay, well, look at you. I'd like to recommend or nominate Bill Lopez for chair. I didn't look.
Second.
Will we have a discussion before we? That is fine. Yes, would like me to continue to do it. That is. So there's a motion by Series, second by Waterford. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
All right, vice chair.
Make a motion, we have Doug from Series continue as vice chair.
My thoughts exactly. I'll second that. All in, yeah, motion by Newman, second by Modesto. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're set for the next year. All right, item 6A through C are informational reports. Any questions or comments on those reports? No? Move to agenda item 7, Caltrans report. We do not see Caltrans today. Agenda item 8, executive report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations on another year, you and Doug. I also just wanted to congratulate Modesto for their new housing for the homeless program that they just developed and calling it Jenny's Place, as our late Jenny Canoyer worked very hard and tirelessly with that program. And I know that was really important for her. And I want to commend Joe for doing that because that meant a lot for her family as well. And that actually is really good for our community that we're having these types of housing. So I thought that was a really great program. So congratulations to that. And so as you already know, and we mentioned it earlier, in July, we're dark. And so you'll have a little rest from us. Starting in August, we'll convene and then we'll bring back those items regarding the policy so we can have that discussion and we'll bring back some information so it brings you some recollection of when that was decided. And other than that, that concludes my report.
All right, item 9, are there any member reports?
I was wondering. Consider. Yes, I was wondering if the board would consider moving the MFC meetings to series, and that way, since all of us already meet in series from 12 to 2, we can just have it down there. And I know MFC has been held in series before, and so I was just curious what the thoughts are of the board if we could have it possibly at series at MFC. We have the capabilities down there also.
From Newman's perspective, we would welcome that opportunity. From my own personal perspective, be coming first full circle. That's where
Yes.
we started it.
I would agree. I think it'd be a great opportunity. I think the parking's the biggest issue. Downtown Modesto is a lovely place. It's my hometown, but parking down here is a bit of a struggle. And when you have events like this, it makes it even worse. But we do enjoy our time in series. I think it'd be a great location for a meeting.
And for clarity, I mean, we do have our county city manager meeting at that right ahead of this time. There's a lot of scrambling that goes on. I think it'd be fair to hear executive director's thoughts on this.
Well, we could definitely try to consider something like that because obviously for SANCOG, it would require a whole different administration to change that. And as well, we also have other meetings that we're holding, but anything's open. I mean, there's other things that we're considering, so I'm not gonna say no, maybe not all the time, but maybe some meetings, definitely. There was a time that when I first became the executive director of this agency, I actually like what we used to do in San Joaquin Council of Governments. We would go to each of the cities every month and we would have lunch at each of the cities. And it's a way to be at their communities. And I actually wanted to do that because I like going out to your communities, but I know we have 10 jurisdictions and that made it a little difficult and this committee didn't want it. But of course, that was years ago. Now there's some of you that are new. So there's always that potential too, to do some of that. Maybe we don't do it all every month or, yes. So I can look into that and get back to all of them.
I think that's fair. So why don't we let them look at it, then we'll have a conversation about it and at our next meeting and maybe talk about some way we can make that work for everybody. Any other member reports? All right, I'll call adjourn 3:37.